Good morning and welcome to Presence of Light with Charlie Riverman Bergeron here on this day of the full moon, broadcasting from the southwest coast of Maine in the USA. And it's a beautiful sunny morning, and the moon was brilliant last night and going to be even more brilliant tonight. And as that brilliance shone forth last night, the words about light uh, popped up in my mind this morning to talk about sharing our light and being the light that we are and recognizing the power that that holds for all of us in the future. So I want to thank you for showing up. I see people are arriving and blessings. I'm just going to set the tone. That covers the throat chakra. And it's something we should always remember that our throat chakra is our communication with each other, our verbal communication. And what we speak also carries light as well as our words carry light. And as we tap into a new evolutionary process that we're going through, it's important to pay attention to the words we use, pay attention to how they're directed at people, because it's all energy. And I'm experiencing this myself. It's not something that I'm a master of at this point in my journey, but I'm learning that many times I say things to people and it gets misinterpreted, or they don't understand. And when they don't understand, they shut down um, receiving the information. And I find myself doing that as well. And so it's important now for us to both speak with light and listen to the light. And that may sound strange, but it's really about a vibration, an energetic frequency. And it really doesn't have to do so much with how we understand light and sound, but they are basically energetic frequencies that we have the ability to shift and change to the highest potential for the benefit of ourselves and each other. And sort of the message today was we are being guided right now to dive deeper into the memories of our existence and release all that cannot be sustained in our future. So, with those words that came through, what is sustainable and what is not sustainable is really what is in the balance right now. And what is the most sustainable is light. If we don't have any light, nothing happens. It's the light energy that creates the energy from which we grow and expand, and our food comes from. And so, this is very important right now to tap deeper into who we are as light, what we are as light, and let's not look at the old patterns of teaching that say, well, light is science on a scientific basis is blah, 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 blah. It's much more than that. It's the energy of existence in form, really. It's the second from the first level of who we are. The first level is love. The second level is light. And the third level is peace. And I use those levels because of my near-death experience. That's what I witnessed. That's what I became. There was no physical body. There was no earth. There was no trees. There were nothing. It was just love, light, and peace. And in order to sustain all of that which we see in this dimension of being is based on light. If we remove the light, and this is the full moon, so we have the blessing of light tonight as a reflection. So too are we individual moons in many ways. And we are to reflect that light of the sun, which we look at the power of creation of physical, food and um, everything that is alive requires the solar energy, the sun, the light. And the key is that we also are that light. And we are containers of that light. And the more we tap into accepting ourselves as beings of light, the more we're able to shine brighter. And as we see when the full moon is at its not receiving light, how the darkness increases around us. The evening increases, and it's just the fact that the light is not being reflected from the moon. But when she is full, it's brilliant. It's almost like walking in daylight. That's, some full moons can be that bright. And what does that do? When we walk in darkness, we compress, we shrink in, we become leery, we become frightful, we become every sound, we are relying on senses that allows our imagination to create their own stories about what's happening. And if somebody whispers to you before you go for a walk in the dark that, oh, there's evil over here, or there's wild animals over here, you're going to go into that darkness and walk through that darkness with all of this pre-edited information, and it's going to trigger you to go deeper into fear. And in reality, there's nothing to fear in the darkness. Whatever is in the darkness is there in the light. And we have to look at this and say, yes, the potential for something harmful happening to us in the darkness is greater because we're losing one of our senses, our sense of sight. Yet, if we rely on all of our other senses, on the power that we have light within us that can help us stay balanced, we're going to walk a little more carefully or cautiously. We're going to listen a little deeper, and the fear starts to dissipate. So this is what's happening, is that all of the pain, the suffering, the trauma that we're going through, both personally and as a collective, throughout this pandemic and this shifting of world possession, and I'm going to label it world possession because that's what's happened, is all of these, what we live in as so-called countries, and these um, governments all want possession. It's all about possessing everything. It's about owning it. It's about claiming it for themselves and having power over it. It's a practice that's been instilled in the mind of humanity for thousands of years. It didn't need to get this extreme, but we are now at this edge where if things don't change and come back to respecting every individual as a part of the whole, then what we're going to experience is really, truly a severe separation of that is not going to be fruitful for humanity at all. Here we are. We are the ones who have the power. We are the ones who are the light. We are the ones who have chosen to be here at this time. We are the ones who are listening to others. We are the ones who are listening to our higher guidance. On how we express that is really important. And each one of us is going to express it uniquely and differently than each other. Yet the theme is to be pillars of light. And that's the message that I received last week, and several other people received it as well. And we weren't talking to each other, but it came up in their messages and their connections with their higher guardians. It's being pillars of light. What does that mean? That means to own the light that you are, to recognize the light that you are, and stand firm in this. So if we look at us as erect standing pillars, and we look at the pillars of the ancient temples, what were they reflecting? They were reflecting the connection from heaven to earth. This is what it is. We are the connections between heaven and earth. And that's what we're being asked to step into on a more daily basis and a more hourly basis. And what does that mean when we're filled with fear, when we're filled with darkness? And not only are we filled with our own trauma and darkness, etc., we are carrying the trauma of our ancestors. And so our responsibility as pillars of light is to use that light to dissipate all of that pain, all of that suffering, not just for ourselves, but for everyone, all the way back through our ancestry. And the universe here is with us, it's guiding us, because what's happening now is the vibrations of planet Earth are being felt in its sister planets. It's being felt in the greater universe. And it's going to correct itself, but not be the most human friendly thing to happen. So we have an opportunity as one humanity, as a collective, to assist this. So this is what's happening. This is about the light. This is how we really need to look at the light of the full moon tonight or this afternoon, wherever you are, whenever it appears, and look at the similarity between us and the moon, and how we come to periods where we are really brilliantly shining and reflecting our divinity, which would be the sun to the moon, and how it diminishes. And it's okay, it's still there. It just lessens and lessens. It never really goes away. And when the moon is completely opposite Earth to the sun, there is complete darkness. And what is it in that complete darkness? It's an opportunity to look at what is coming up within us that is fear-based, that is not in alignment who we are, and set the plans for when the light returns to release it into the light. So it's a relatively not convoluted process. It's really, what I'm learning now is many things are really quite simple. It's we with our brains that create a lot of the interference. So the card this morning that I began with was this little Shanta Gabriel card. It's about Gabriel teachings, and the message from Gabriel was the way to harmony is by remembering who you are in every moment, a divine expression, spirit into matter. And so the spirit, who are we as the spirit? We're the light. We're the spirit of light. We're the spirit of love. We're the spirit of peace. And we are in this physical form. And then when we leave this physical form, we return to that peace, to that light, and to that love. And there is no more physicality. There's no more understanding of all of the daily problems and issues that we go through. It's because it doesn't exist there. We're in a completely different dimensional, energetic experience. Another card I pulled this morning was this beautiful Soul Inspirations message card by Kalia. And I haven't pulled her cards in a long time, but it reads, in embracing the fullness of who we are, we find peace. For every emotion is an invitation to another path, discovering our deeper beings. Our souls will not let us escape our truth. Last lines, our souls will not let us escape our truth. Many of you know the word soul has been given to me as source of unconditional love. Other people have other words that they replace for those, but for me, it's source source of unconditional love. My brain fog enters and brain goes, don't think, just talk from your higher self, Charlie. Don't try to figure it out. There again, here's the interference. This is what I'm learning now, as how simple the interference can be to distract us and to take us out of that frequency of light. And then we have the power, which is amazing, to bring ourselves back into it. So I'm getting the vision of tracks. When you were a kid, you maybe had a little railroad set and your train would run off the tracks, or a race car set and would run off the track, and you put it back on track. This is what we're doing. We're bringing, every time we get off track, we come back to the light, come back to the love, and put ourselves back on track. And the balancing of the light and dark will balance in itself, and it already is. We just have to witness that night and day, that period of full moon, dark moon within us, and know that it is a normal, natural cycle. It's no matter how much light we fill ourselves with, there will still be moments of darkness that will arise from the greater darkness within us. And that's what we're actually shifting in our human evolution. Part of what has transpired is the fact that for thousands of years we've been programmed and we've been taught to follow leadership that we've collectively elected or felt what we needed. And there was nothing wrong in that whatsoever, except when it started to become corrupted. And it became corrupted through the ego mind and power and greed and wanting to grasp everything as theirs. And we see this, we technically call it selfishness. So, what we have is leadership that is very selfish. It talks about doing the best for us, but they come first. Their projects are first. And our everyday existence is at the bottom of the list because we're inevitably uh, the slaves of that system. So the slave system has never not existed as long as you have leadership that overpowers the will of the people. And I say this, and I'm not trying to criticize any political situation, but it's just the nature of power. And that's what happens. Power manifests and it gets out of proportion to the point where the average person feels that there's no hope, that no matter what they do, it's not going to make a difference. And when we lose that sense of our personal power, the darkness becomes even more fearful. Here again is that cycle of light and dark, just like the the full moon, the dark moon. It's happening within our psyche, it's happening within our energy fields, just as well as it's happening as we look into the sky. We are not separated from that sky. We are not separated from this earth. And all of the teachings that have told us that we are lies. And I'm just going to blatantly say they're lies. And they're lies that have been constructed so that we would follow something else, that we would listen and be made to feel empowered at the same time we were having our energy taken from us and utilized to support a system or a group of people that were selfish and uncompassionate. Here we are, one humanity that has a collective as well as an individual memory. The collective memory is as far back as our ancestry we can follow in our genetic codes. Some of you have images of your ancestry. Some of you may have guides and teachers that are from reaching from your ancestry to guide and teach you who to be and what to say and how to do that. We have many indigenous people right now in the world who are being really tortured and thrown off their land and their land stolen from them, just as it was 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Nothing has changed. If you look at the pattern of behavior of the world, you have greedy, powerful groups who want to take what is there, to own what is there, to rape what is there for their own power and greed under the guise that this is in your best interest. And if you look at the world today and this situation that we're in around the world, we have many countries that are rebelling. We have many countries that are on fire. They're burning, literally burning. We have countries that are being flooded. So, what is this chaos all about? This chaos is about the fact that those who claim to be in power are in distress. And when they're in distress and when their structure starts to fail, then everything that they built starts to fail. And I'm seeing, unfortunately, the picture of collapsing buildings. And we've had these warnings. We've had buildings that have collapsed. We have buildings that have supposedly imploded or exploded or whatever. We have these devastating um, visionary tools to tell us to wake up that this is what's going on a larger scale. This is just the beginning if we don't wake up and shift and become and tap into the light that we are and anchor it. So the next part is pillars of light. How do we become pillars of light? We become pillars of light by realizing that we cannot even exist in this form if there was no light. So the living force is light. If there's no light, there's no food. If there's no light, none of this integrates with each other. All of the elements don't integrate. I'm not a scientist. I'm not trying to be one. These are just messages that are being continually uh, given to me, that without any one of the elements, fire, water, air, we, we're just not going to make it. We are elemental beings. And that light is very important in all of the elements. It doesn't, none of those happen without light. So here we are. The power of light energizes everything. And this is what many ancient scientists or older scientists tapped into. And when they tapped into it and other people learned of the power of what they were doing, they shut them down. They destroyed what they were doing. And we still do that today. We have people who come up with amazing inventions, and next thing you know, their house is burning, or their lab is destroyed, or they're destroyed. So we have this collective intelligence in humanity that seeks to control our total presence of thought and our total presence of form and our total presence, period. This is where we have to come back into the light, because the light doesn't choose one over another. The light is the light of creation. And when we tap into that light of creation, even for short periods of time at first, what we realize that is we become stronger than what is being reflected to us by others. It's like when we were children and we were told to go in the dark to get something, and we were given a flashlight, or older may have been just a torch, just to clear a way to see where we were going, to reduce the harm that might happen to us by stumbling over something. But then there was always somebody who said, oh, the boogeyman's over there, or whatever it was. There's monsters in the dark. And what did that do? That fed a part of our brain that triggers fear. If you look at what's happened over the past year and a half, and is still happening right now, we have everybody triggering fear. And I'm not even going to label what all of those fears are, but there's so many of them that I don't think anybody is escaping being fed a line of fear. And the more we listen to those fearful thoughts, the more we're going to pull back, the more our light is going to diminish, the more we're going to go deeper into the darkness of ourselves. And as we do that, the darkness of our past, the darkness of our childhood, the darkness of our ancestors starts to rise, and it becomes overwhelming. And many of you are experiencing that. And the key now is to call in the light, to dispel it and release it. We release it through inviting the light in. just like when you shine the flashlight on the noise you heard in the darkness and you realize it was just a tree branch that fell. There was no thing there that was going to eat you. There was no thing that was going to kill you. This is coming once again, restoring the light within us. As we restore that light, we are to stand as pillars. The, the pillars of light that when other people come and move by us or speak to us, they feel comfortable. They feel welcome. They feel loved. And we can't do that and be that if we don't correct what is going on within us. So we use the light to release the darkness from within ourselves. I maybe said last week or the week before, I spent years and years giving light, giving light, giving light, sending light out. And it dawned on me that I wasn't allowing much of that light to stay with me. I always felt that, oh, as long as the light is passing through me, I'm fine. And then I reached a point through this uh, past year and a half where it's I'm not receiving as much as I need to sustain who I am as a pillar of light. And the message last week was to take the time to learn to say no, to take the time to honor who I am and know that my cup of light needs to be filled. That the amount of depletion that we're receiving right now from outside of us is draining us at a rate that is greater than we've ever experienced in the form of humanity before. So here's what we do. We come back and honor who we are. We honor who we are as light beings, as beings of creation, as images of the Creator. However, you want to believe in the Creator is your choice, your personal choice. And I'm not here to say anybody's right or wrong. I'm here to saying that that is creation. That without that source, there is that, without that zero point, if you will, in the quantum field, nothing happens. It all comes from that oneness. And that's what we're returning to. We've been scattered into almost 8 billion fragments, when in the beginning there was a whole lot less. So we've been fragmented. It doesn't mean that there's not enough light and energy to sustain 8 billion people. There is, but we're told that they're not. We're fed the fear that there's not. There isn't, under the rules and regulations that humans have created for themselves. Under that, they're correct. It's not sustainable. But in a higher truth, it is sustainable. And we can come back into a balance where maybe there won't be as many people as are on the planet now. But the reality is everybody will be healthy and living in harmony. Long talk, many words. uh, the more we tap into this inner light, will give us moments where everything comes together in balance and harmony. As we get to witness those moments of balance and harmony, we will realize, and we do realize, that the darkness has less and less power. that it only has the power of illusion. It makes us believe that something is going to devour us, and that it's only a temporary cycle. So if we can toughen up for just that little period of time when the darkness seems greatest, it will dissipate because of the light that's flowing through us. The light will return to us and dispel the darkness automatically. But if we stay in focus on the darkness, then we are responsible in that moment for attaching ourselves to the darkness as being all there is, the most powerful energy. And it's not. Okay? Your light is the transformational energy that not only will assist you in balancing, but will assist the whole world in balancing. And it's fed by the universe around us, because the universe around us witnesses this struggle and wants to assist us, and can only assist us by sending energy. But if we keep taking the energy being sent and throwing it away or dismissing it and saying, well, that can't be happening because that's science says that's impossible. What is science? Science is a collective agreement of people. There have been many collective groups of people who have been wrong. And yet they can't let go of their egos enough to say they're wrong. And so they live out this wrongness. And that's what we're learning. That's what we're learning in quantum theory. This is what we're learning as we open up and investigate the deeper inner structure of molecular structure, etc., that we were wrong. They're not going to advertise that on the front page of the paper, but you'll see bits and pieces of, oh, they've just discovered this, as if it's a new discovery. No, people understood that before, but they couldn't prove it. And so they went with what they could prove, which was limited. Here is our limitations. They're illusions. We are not unlimited. We were created by the same creator that created everything, including the theory that we're trying to understand right now. And that creator doesn't have to understand it because it is it. So we're coming back into balance with Mother Earth. And as we restore that imbalance between us and Mother Earth, our future generations will pick up the momentum and bring it into balance quicker and more effectively. Because the old, what we call paradigm, the old structure is collapsing. Just like the buildings are collapsing, the structure is collapsing. And it's not the end of the world. It's the beginning of a new world, one which is more frequency of compatibility rather than struggle and ripping apart. So again, as Chantal Gabriel pointed out in the Gabriel message this morning, the way to harmony is by remembering who you are in every moment. A divine expression, spirit into matter. And who we are in embracing the fullness of who we are, we find peace. And we find peace in honoring the light that we are, not giving our power away to the darkness. And that's my story about sharing the light. This is who we are. How do we share it? We have to have it in order to share it. So the moment we feel depleted, take a time out. Allow yourself to receive that light. And then when you feel well again, you'll feel filled with light, and the moments of darkness will be over. And then process it again. And the more we do this, the more we get used to this cycle. I mean, our ancestors were used to the cycle. That's how they survived. They knew when the moon was going to, they knew, and they did certain things in accordance with the darkness and the light. And they didn't have to think about it. They just knew that you don't do that. It's light out. The moon is in this cycle, or the planets are in this cycle. You don't do that then. You can do it if you want, but it's stupid. So this is what we're learning. This is what we're relearning. And as we do that, we become the pillars of light for the future. We are the pillars, the columns that this will uphold the new structure. So honor that in yourself. Give yourself a big hug and say, wow, I didn't know that I had that capacity. I didn't know that struggling and fighting and all of that isn't really getting me power. It's actually depleting my power because I have to spend more energy to maintain it. And the more energy I need, the more energy I have to take from something else and deplete that. So if you're feeling depleted, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling anxious, allow yourself to feel those. Get help with those things with some modality or medicine or whatever. And know that what's important right now is for us to fill ourselves with as much light as we possibly can, however you understand that. But you will know that when the light starts to return, everything will change in a more positive manner. So thank you for being with me this morning, listening to my whatever it is I do, my morning talk here. And I'm going to scroll down. Thank you all for being with all of us today, and being with each other. And yeah, I'm coming back from the fire. Yeah. Again, this is what the resurrection is about. This is, the story of the condor, not the condor, but I can't remember. I have to think with a human brain, which still has that brain fog, which is, I don't care about it anymore. Be as foggy as you want. I'm more powerful than you are. And that's what we're learning. We're more powerful than the things that are bothering us. We're coming back into our power by owning the light and knowing that over time the light will eradicate whatever it is we're passing through. Feel motivated, asking people, are you okay? Feeling very fatigued. Yeah, and that's kind of what's happening to all of us. This sort of malaise, this fatigue, this sense of fatigue. So for some, it's more experiential than others, but at whatever level you're at, the key is it's a message for you to take the light and take the love and hold it within your own physical container, knowing that instead of the river of it flowing at full capacity, it's like a little dam, and you're holding a little bit more than you normally would for yourself. And this is what we're learning, that we need to honor who we are as these pillars of light, that we're not just allowing ourselves to become used or depleted, because many people will attach to us unknowingly. They're not aware, but that's what they do, and they're not working on their own issues. So be careful and be aware that this is what can happen. Our souls, yes, our souls, sources of unconditional love, sources of unconditional light. However, you want to use those words, it's a powerful word. And knowing that that's who we are, we will change the whole structure of humanity's ability to co create and to collectively come back into wholeness. Uh, Thank you all. My goodness, many of you, bless you. And may your week be filled with discovery, discovering who you are, discovering how powerful you are when the full moon is with you and that light is shining you. And it's so you're getting that light from our beloved sun 24 hours. It's time to refill. It's let's go to the gas station and fill the tank. And that will carry us through the dark time where we release. We let all of the darkness go back to the darkness. And it's cyclical. And we'll do this over and over again. And the more we do it, the better everyone will respond to it and everybody will react to each other. And I'm going to stop. It's been about 45 minutes. I've taken up enough of your time. And know that wherever you are around the world right now, take a deep breath. Slowly relaxing as you exhale. And we'll do it again. Another deep breath. Allowing it to fill your body as it carries the light energy into our cellular structure. Breathing in the light and allowing it to flow through our physical body offers us the opportunity to remember that we are not just something, an object here on planet Earth. We are a part of Mother Earth. We are part of her breathing system. We are part of her physicality. We are part of her digestive system. We are part of her co-creation of life. When things get too rough, find Mother Earth and sit with her. Tell her your stories when you can't find any humans to trust. She will speak to you. She will hold you in her energy field. She will embrace you with her love. She will take your tears and your fears and spread them out. Clearing away all that needs to be cleared. This is part of her gift of life to us. May you love her as much as she loves you. Aho Takwioasin. I love you, I thank you, I respect you. I am you. You are me. We are unity. May your week be brighter, beginning with this full moon. May you remember the light that you are and that you have to offer. And may you remember to not give it all away, to always keep what you need. And if in this moment you need more than you ever have, allow yourself to say, I deserve this because I am a perfect child of light. Blessings to all. And enjoy the full moon and all the messages that are brought to you, whether you understand them or not. Know that it's all part of the process, and we're going to go through this over and over and over again until we get on board and say, here's the cycle. Here's what I need to do. Here's now I need to take the time to honor myself and be that pillar of light so that others on their path will say, oh, go this way. Like the street lights. Oh, there's the street lights. Blessings. Much love.